Hey everyone, it's Gina. You're listening to Seer Sessions. Every week, I bring you hypnosis that helps you quiet the mental noise, rebuild your self-trust, all so you can hear your own inner signal more clearly. That way, you know your decisions are being made by you and not what external influences want you to do. It's a good thing. Okay, so in today's episode, I'm going to bring you a little sneak peek, a little special gift. In my membership, the members get 2 additional podcast episodes every month. We take the topic that's on the Seer Sessions podcast, like in June, it's expanding awareness. And in the 2 membership episodes, I go even deeper. I tell personal stories where I'm at personally. I share personal sessions. I share client sessions. So just a little bit juicier. Plenty of room for conversation. So if you've ever done these hypnotic journeys or ever listened to a podcast episode and you're like, I really wish I could ask Gina X, my membership is a great place to do that. So even though I know that you're clicking right that link and you're joining the membership, I'm still going to share one of the podcast episodes that I shared with the membership this month. I'm sharing some reflections based on the first episode that I sent them this month. And that episode was really me reflecting on a session, my very first past life regression, my very first journey to another lifetime where I experienced another life. And I went deeper into that, pulling out session clips, reflecting on where I'm at today, what's the same, what's different. It's really just an overflow of that and more of an explanation of like where I'm at on this journey of evolution, expanding my awareness. So let's listen to that episode. Hey everyone, thank you so much for being here in the membership. And as always, we take that topic on the Seer Sessions podcast and we go deeper. I'm going a little bit deeper into expanded awareness, what I'm seeing in myself, not only today, but in contrast with just a few years ago. Okay, if you have not listened to the June 1st episode yet, definitely go listen to that. I'm going to be referencing it in this, and I see this conversation as really like the overflow of how I'm kind of illustrating expanded awareness, the benefits of it, why we should do it, how we can do it, some of the changes that can happen when we start to intentionally work that practice and expand our awareness. So over a decade after having my first past life regression, it was a pretty big trip to look back and just like re-listen to it. Even the way I operate and the way I talk in trance has totally changed. So that was my first past life regression. So go back, listen to that if you have not listened to it. In that, I outlined like some of the ways I'm different, like how today I probably wouldn't have even ended up in that session. And not that that's a bad thing at all. And not that I shouldn't have done it back then. I'm really glad I did it back then. Obviously, it like clearly changed my life on some level because now I lead these sessions and journeys. But I think of the whole process as pretty different than I did back then. I kind of had this more rigid view of what was going on, I'll call it in the unseen realms around us, right? So like, where do we go after we leave this body? And I was really deep into reading like Brian Weiss, Michael Newton, Dolores Cannon, people who were doing this work. I was really steeped in it. And I have never really believed in the hierarchy of it all. Like sometimes people will say, you know, you're ascending as a soul, you're growing and evolving, right? So some can be more advanced than others. Or people talking about spirit guides or levels of spirit guides or souls, even levels of souls. And that just never resonated with me, ever. Like the organization of it resonated with me, but this idea that it was like some people are up here, some people are down here, that to me it's never resonated. Growing up, my family was Catholic. Like I went to religion classes every Wednesday. I went to church every Saturday, usually at 4. If we couldn't make it on Saturday, we'd be there on Sunday. And even that, I just was like, I just don't believe it. Like I hate the power structure. I also personally hate authority. So that probably influences how I feel about it all too. But when I went into that, it was really this feeling of like, these are my past lives. My soul has lived life after life, life in between lives. And I kind of technically still believe that, but I don't believe it's in the past at all. I think it's happening all at once. And the idea that it's happening all at once is very perplexing and blows my mind. And this far into the game of expanding my awareness, I know that if something like life, the universe, is not blowing my fucking mind, then it's probably not the truth. Because anytime someone has these greater spiritual experiences, myself included, where you're communing with the divine, or you're connecting with a loved one on the other side, or you're having some other kind of experience that's like awakening you to God, to the beauty of life, to unconditional love. When we're in that space, it can be really, really hard to like put words to it. And something that clients say in every single session is, it's so hard to explain. The words just don't do it justice. I could never really explain this. I wish I could just feel it and not have to describe it. And when someone's in that state, that expansive state where we're experiencing this otherworldly, unconditional love, joy, lightness, expansiveness, we can't describe it. Like, to bring that from the ethers and to bring it down through my brain into my nervous system and out my mouth, it gets lost in translation. And I've had so many of those experiences, thankfully, in so many different situations. And I've even had those experiences outside of hypnosis. I've had those experiences with plant medicine. I've had those experiences with nothing, just me, my breath, my mind, my body. And I think when we are in a space where we're exploring, we're seeking answers, we're going deep within, we're expanding what we're aware of, we're expanding our knowledge of the way things are around us, more so than what we can see with our eyes and within us. It's amazing, but it's also very much like, what the fuck is this? And so I think we reach for things to try to make it make sense and give it validity because we want it to be true. We don't want this to be something that we just totally made up. Well, the truth is that it is true because you did feel it and you can even remember feeling it. But people have a hard time hanging out in that uncertainty. So we put all these human parameters and ideas and constructs around what it could be. And so to think that I'm more evolved than, say, a lifetime 200 years ago, not any lifetime that I've seen. All of the lifetimes that I've seen or experienced, I am, yes, some of them I'm like more wise and calm. Some of them I'm not, but they're all really have their strengths. They all have their weaknesses. And every time I visit it, it impacts me profoundly in this life. Every time I get a first person point of view and experience in a different life besides Gina in this earth suit in this time, it gives me way greater perspective of like what is going on in my life. And so now the difference between now and in 2015 is I have the confidence and the solidness in my own self and in the experiences that I'm having and the experiences that I see clients having, that I don't need to put some sort of dogma or parameters or constructs around it. And that confidence that I'm talking about, it comes from more knowledge, expanding what I'm aware of, more time in altered states of consciousness, exploring the unseen realms around me and within me. And that's the biggest difference. And that's what we're designed to do. We're designed to get better at the things that we do over and over. So in 2015, I was like a new little baby deer, like on shaky legs. And I think it's great to like learn from people who have put some structures in place, but to know that those structures aren't the capital T truth. Like, know that those structures are there. Know that the human mind and ability to really translate what's going on in the unseen realms around us, it's not something that we have a grasp of. Even the smartest people working on this planet don't even have a full grasp of. And so with that, we can just know you are safe. Learn how to be safe. Learn about yourself. Learn about influences when you're being influenced. What is your own influence? What is influence from the outside world? All of that stuff has helped me show up and explore in these unseen realms without needing to be like, here's what's going on and we're all evolving and I'm up here and you're down there. I think a lot of times the human structure, we want to evolve, we want to grow. And in that, we just automatically go hierarchy, I'm up here, you're down there. And you know what? I want to say the whole I'm up here, you're down there. It's not that I'm so holier than thou that I don't ever want to be above anybody. I mean, I am a human. I judge people. But I think one of the nuances for me is that I don't hold it against them. I try not to hold it against them. So it's not that I'm holier than thou. I know this shit can flip on a dime. So if I'm up here and I'm thinking I'm better than everybody, I know that in my own mind, tomorrow I can wake up and think I'm below everybody else. And that sucks. I hate feeling that way. So I'm someone who, I know that this shit can turn on a dime. I know that the equal and opposite is always possible. It's a law of physics. And really, I'm confident in myself to just show up, chop wood, carry water, do the work every day. I don't need to be comparing myself to other people. Do I wish other people were on some sort of journey trying to do better? And by doing better, I don't mean making more money. I mean like doing better on the inside. Yeah, of course. But I also know that what's king in this universe of the unseen realms around us is free will. It is against my personal religion to come in the way of anyone's free will. I don't want to control you. I've never wanted to control you. I don't want you to control me. We all have our own free will. And it is actually, I believe, our duty on this earth to exercise that free will. And to do that effectively or in the way that I think can make the most impact in terms of us enjoying our life and us benefiting the people around us is to know who we are on the inside. We are all, not to be super cheesy, but we are all carrying that divine spark, whatever this special energy is that animates the earth suit. We all carry that. And I truly believe that when we go inward and we focus on ourselves and we learn about ourselves like in a whole loving way, if we're doing it in the right way in terms of the world I want to see, then we don't come out of that exploration thinking you're better than someone else. I came out of that exploration thinking, well, I went into it thinking I wasn't shit because that was always my mentality. But I came out of it thinking like, oh my God, I have these special gifts and this like connection with this greater universe and the energies flowing around me. And I can utilize it to my advantage. And not only that I can utilize it to my advantage, but I should. Like, I think that that is how I live a life where I don't lay on my deathbed regretting it, because I've had a lot of those experiences when I experience another lifetime. I've had so many where I lay on my deathbed and regret. And what a benefit of this work. I know so many of us, we kind of carry around these subconscious beliefs of fear and death. And so I don't want to feel that way at the end of my life. I want to feel like it's complete. I want to feel like I stuck the landing, like I did a good job. So in having these experiences, I've really touched on like the preciousness of it, really, and that I want to honor that within myself. But here's the thing. I'm doing it in a way where I truly see the divinity in it. And if I'm doing it right, then I should come out of that process, and I have, seeing the divinity in other people. And that doesn't mean that I'm like, people pleasing or a doormat. We can see someone's divinity and their bullshit and be like, I can't do the bullshit, but we can also see someone's divinity without even knowing them. Giving them grace is what comes from that. That's when you let someone sit at a red light that turns green for an extra half second before you lay on the horn. Like giving someone grace that we're not all just like ready to pounce and beat up on each other and sell each other down the river so we can make some money. Like if we can see that preciousness, not to be cheesy, but like that real preciousness within us and start to live in a way where we can honor it, we're going to effortlessly and automatically, if you're doing it on the right path, at least the one that I'm trying to truck, you're going to feel that way for other people. So it not only benefits my life, but it benefits the collective too, which is another benefit of expanding your awareness. Oftentimes we show up to a situation, we have two choices, pick the lesser of two evils. And in the case of my first past life regression in 2015, I remember someone saying to me, it's such a waste to go inside when all of our problems are all around us. And I felt really insecure about that. I don't think mob culture was really big online back then, but it was starting to build. Like I could feel that even in like groups of friends or like work contacts who I would get together with, there was a fraction of people who thought it was a real waste of time to be going inward. And here's the thing. If you're not aware of your shadows, you will project them on everyone all around you. If we expand our awareness to include ourselves, to include understanding the divinity, that divine human spark within us, that in turn helps us understand the preciousness of life, the power of free will, and what that actually means. And in that, we stop trying to control people. We stop exploiting people. We stop trading people for money. We stop treating people like dirt. We start trying to take care of each other because we start to see, wow, I'm affected by the people around me. Not only the people in my house or my family, but the people down the block, the people in the city, the homeless people outside of Target, whatever it is. Like we start to see how affected by all of that we are. I would oftentimes come to my higher self in meditation with like, should I do A or should I do B? Like both of them have drawbacks, both of them suck, but which one should I do? These are my two options. And when I would access that part of myself through the state of unconditional love, right? So we are in this really loving, expanded state. I would often get answers that were like, oh, here's actually a third option. And actually there are no drawbacks. And it's actually better for the people who you were helping. And that's another thing I've learned too, is really just expanding my awareness to the point of if I think it's good for me or good for my group, but it makes other people suffer, we are not done searching for the answer. That's it. Point blank. We can get there. Now we even have AI to help us brainstorm how to get there. That has really changed how I live in my life. I used to show up to all kinds of things, all kinds of relationships, all kinds of gatherings within certain relationships. And I just felt like, it's not my favorite, but I got to do it. But I would like kind of dread it. And now I'm like, why would I do that? Why don't I suggest something that I know we both like and would enjoy more? Instead of sitting down staring at each other while we drink coffee, why don't we go on a walk? For example, not that I never drink coffee. I love to sit and drink coffee, but that's the thing too. It's like we often stop. I always stopped when it was like, oh, you get a little bit of good, but now you have some bad too. And I'd be like, okay, yeah, that's fine. Or run into a hard spot and be like, oh, I'm done. Instead of being like, how can I adapt? How can I change? How can I get help from someone? How can I learn about the tools or the strategies I needed to get around this thing or above this thing or over this thing or whatever? Because back then, if I ran into any real resistance, I had a hard time not taking it personally. Like if someone would say no, I would think like, oh, that's because I didn't do it good enough. I didn't talk them into it good enough. And it's like, or they just have free will and they don't want to do it. I mean, maybe I didn't explain it well enough. Sure. And I can take that reflection and not hold it so I feel bad, but like hold it long enough so I can learn from it. Is there something I would have done differently? What could I do next time? Because life repeats itself. But I was already carrying this story that I wasn't shit. I'm not very smart. I don't figure things out. I can't ask for help, even though I need help. And actually, as I'm thinking about this, for some reason, this memory keeps coming forward. I was in third grade, and third grade was a really hard year for me. Like, I think there was for sure a lot of drama at home. And the teacher I had was so awful. Like, even as an adult, when I look at her adult to adult, I'm like, why would you have this job? You obviously hate this job. And you're so rude to these kids, but whatever. It was a hard time for me. And I had written some essay or something that we had to write. And I was really moved by the Summer Olympics, I guess. And it was about something about like a swimming competition. And I wrote it, and I remember feeling like kind of enjoying writing it. Like I, to this day, remember some of the details about it. And which is kind of crazy because I don't remember a lot from back then. And anyways, turned it in. And a few days later, this teacher who was not my teacher at the time, she did a lot of extracurricular stuff. And I grew up in a really small town, and she was, I don't know, pretty eccentric. I couldn't predict her. I had never known anyone like her. And so at that time, spending time with her wasn't something I wanted to do, because my perception back then was that if you cannot predict the behavior of an adult, it ain't good. So get away. Which is why I could also sit in that third grade room with that awful teacher and never once get on her bad side. Like, I know how to handle someone when they're in that space, right? Like, that was my expertise. But I didn't know that that was a thing. I didn't know that that's what was making my decisions. So when this super artsy, eclectic, unique woman in this small ass monochrome town came up to me and she was like, "Your essay is really good. Would you like to do more writing?" In my third grade brain, my thought was literally like, I have bigger fish to fry than to write stories. Like, I do not have time for this. And it speaks obviously to my emotional state, because it's not like I had a job or anything back then. And that is such a metaphor for so many things in my life where I've had this really great opportunity in front of me, but for some reason, I can't see it, or it just doesn't seem like it's me. Or, yeah, that would be nice, but I have these other important things to tend to. And it's not that that mentality is never right. It's just I had that mentality automatic. And I know in my hindsight, that was just the beginning. But I can see a lot of missed opportunities. I mean, missed opportunities. I like where I'm at, blah, blah, blah. But still, I don't want to replicate that. I want that to stop. I want that to be in the past. So expanding my awareness of my own life experience, of other people's life experience through my clients and the sessions that they experience and those lifetimes that they experience, all of that has really stretched me in terms of what I believe to be possible in my own life. I mean, in human life in general, but in my own life, because that's the life I'm creating. Okay, so when it comes to the experience of another lifetime or a past life, I'm going to go more into that in July on the podcast and in the membership. So switching gears a little bit, something also back then in 2015, even in 2019, when I started the podcast, I was very much into this idea of contacting spirit guides, getting information, getting wisdom, asking spirit guides questions. And I will say I have almost done a total 180 on that. I never bring clients to see their spirit guides unless they have an established relationship with them and they're like adamant about it. Then it's like, okay, fine, it's your session. But I could talk a long time about that and why. But here's what I'll say. When I think back of that whole progression, and I think about my mentality when I very first started using hypnosis as a client, my mentality when I got certified to lead these sessions in 2018, started my podcast in 2019, I feel very differently about going to spirit guides, not only for myself personally, but for my clients. So for myself personally, I still contact spirit guides. I still feel I am working with spirit guides. They're still around me. But the way I see it now is that I am the leader. I am leading this life. I am making the decisions. I am choosing the strategy. I am choosing the direction. And they are there to help me with certain things. They're like a project manager, or you could think of them as like a partner on a project. But that's more so what it is. Before, like in 2015, when I was first starting out all the way to 2019. I think this really started to change for me probably like 3 or 4 years ago. But after seeing or experiencing the past life scenes or scenes from another lifetime, we would go into a space of spiritual guidance. And I, as the facilitator, would call in the client's spirit guides or higher self, either one. And I would have them, we would ask questions, right? Like if the client had some questions that they wanted to ask. And afterward, after that questioning, I would oftentimes ask, like, and where did you get this information? And sometimes they would say spirit guide, and then we would dig a little bit further. Who is this guide? Blah, blah, blah. And sometimes they would say, it's me, it's my higher self. And that was always, in hindsight, I was not consciously aware of this back then. But because of my journey on all of that, in hindsight, I could always see this like shift in someone when they would say, oh, I'm getting this information from my higher self. There was like this layer of clarity and conviction on this is right for me, where when they were getting it like from a spirit guide, they would kind of doubt it or be like, well, that's what they said. And so even early as a hypnotist leading people through these journeys, I could see certain things landing with more certainty within the client in a session, which just means more change, positive outside of the session, when they were talking about their higher self and their self. And that was intriguing to me when I started to kind of figure it out or started to kind of see that. But it wasn't anything where I was like, now, what is this? What's the deeper truth behind it? Because I wasn't there on my own journey. So cut to, I don't know, 2 years ago, I did ayahuasca a couple times. I did combo. I went to Egypt with a spiritual group. I feel like I had an exorcism in the sarcophagus in the King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid on the Giza Plateau in Egypt. I did a lot. But what that 6-month time frame did to me was it expanded my awareness. And it expanded my awareness in the altered states of consciousness, like what I am able to experience, what I am able to extrapolate from those things. And not only in hypnotic trance, like I said, doing plant medicine, chanting, breath work. There's all kinds of ways to shift our awareness in these altered states of consciousness. For me in my journey, I know that all of my time as a client in a hypnosis session allowed me to get even more out of my plant medicine experiences and really any sort of experience where we have the ability to go into trance, which could be prayer, drumming, dancing, chanting, all kinds of things, especially rhythmic movement, can put a human into that trance state. So the more I've done that, the better I've got at really navigating these unseen realms around us. And when we're able to do that, we're able to navigate these unseen realms around us by understanding who we are even better. And we do that because we have to have that contrast, right? We live in a realm of relativity. I don't understand tall unless I can understand short. Cold doesn't mean anything to me unless I can understand hot, right? Like these contrasts make us be able to conceptualize and understand these things that are around us even better. And the same is true when we expand our awareness and go traveling in these altered states of consciousness. We have a real opportunity to get to know ourselves even better. And when we do that, then we can understand even more of the unseen realms around us because we know clearly what is us and what is out there. So during all of that in 2024, a couple years ago, all of that I just laid out from ayahuasca to the sarcophagus in the King's Chamber, it felt like the universe opened up my third eye and just like a Rolodex of everything that ever was, is, or will be, how things work, why things happen to me, how I can use that, why it all makes sense now. It was like a Rolodex of everything in front of my third eye. And the only way I could ground that down into some sort of life, some sort of understanding, some sort of purpose for me was to access my higher self, was to use those altered states of consciousness to go within and understand, like, who am I? Who is this eternal essence of energy animating this earth suit? And what does that mean? And when I started going in that intentionally and that pointed at me, that's when things really started to accelerate for me. Things became even more clear. I mean, it's almost like hard for me to even talk about it right now. It feels honestly so new. The way I have the podcast right now, the way I have the membership right now, the vision in my head going forward is all the aftermath of that. But it's hard for me to put into words. But it's so relative to me because it's within my higher self. It's within that eternal energy that I am. And when I got that kind of clarity, it was almost like I was expanded so much into plant medicine world and Egyptian magic that coming back, I came back and was like, whoa, it was such a contractive state. And had all of this knowledge and awareness, and I knew I had to turn it into my own purpose and to rework my podcast and to rework hypnosis and how I work with people. Because at least for me, I don't know if it's true for you, but when I get a glimpse of the unseen realms and the vastness of it and the freedom I have within it, I can go one or two ways. It makes me like super high and grateful and happy. But on a day-to-day basis, if I'm not connected to my own purpose and why I'm here and what I'm doing, that knowledge makes me feel nihilistic. I'm like, why are we even doing this? Why are we even working on ourselves? Who cares? None of it matters. The people who are the most evil are going to blow us up anyways. So start smoking again, spend your retirement fund. Like, who cares? And even if that's true, I personally don't want to live in that mentality. I like to be, subconsciously hopeful about the future. And I like to just move in that direction. And so that's really, I came out of that expansive time and almost like contracted into this state of like, oh my God, what does it all mean? And how am I going to make sense of this in my life? But through all of that work, and at the time I was still seeing clients all the time. So through all of that transformation with me, my clients started having interesting experiences with their spirit guides. They started having these conversations with spirit guides. And sometimes I would be left wondering, was that really a spirit guide? Should we really be looking outside of ourselves? And especially when we're so new to the unseen realms. You're really going to show up and just open it up to be like, spirit guides, show me the way. To me, that's like taking my most personal life questions, walking into Walmart and being like, who wants to give me some examples? Who wants to give me some ideas? I don't know who you are. I probably don't want your life because most people's lives I don't want. So I am so particular because I know who I am deeply. I am so particular about who I get advice from and the stuff that I entertain that just extends to my clients. And so I started having these things where I would doubt someone's spirit guides, like whether I was getting a gross vibe or the way they were interacting with their spirit guide. But it's a very delicate situation. And I don't know the expansiveness that someone is experiencing in a hypnosis session. So I'd be very careful to not plant my doubt and instead just do my best with that doubt in mind to make it impactful for the client. And then I usually ask questions afterward just to, see if this is a thing for them, if it is problematic for them. I'm more than happy to like help with advice and hear what they have to say. But most people were just like, yeah, those are my spirit guides. And I just thought, I think there's a better way. I think we should be going inside ourselves. And in going inside of myself, I can clearly see that I needed my spirit guides. I needed past lives because I didn't trust myself and I didn't trust my own experience and my own wisdom and my own strength and my own gifts. I've been programmed to doubt them. I've been programmed to stuff them away. If I listen to the external world, I'm a 46-year-old woman. I should be married. I should have given my life away to my children a long time ago. At 46, I should be complaining about how awful menopause is. I should be complaining about my deteriorating body. And I should have wine and complaining about weight gain as a hobby. I don't want that life. And it sounds crazy because I laid it out in a really bad way. But the amount of side eyes I get or commentary I hear, especially from baby boomer men, about how unhappy a single woman like me should be. I have to go within to find happiness. I cannot take my cues from the world around me. I don't want that. I don't want that life. That life makes me not want to get out of bed in the morning. That sort of life, I have prayed to want to fit in. But I can't. And I'm at a point in my life where my awareness has been expanded so much to the unseen realms around me and within me that I've kind of come to a place where I can see the things that I can change and want to change within me. And then there are things that I was programmed to want to change within me, and I'm just done. I'm not doing it. I'm spicy. I have opinions. And they are not yours, probably. I mean, if you're listening to this podcast, probably, but it's a small percentage, right? Like, people like us are not the masses. We are not made to be popular in these masses. We are different from the masses who are just taking their cues from the external world, letting institutions and people of power tell them what to do, what to think, how to eat, how to maintain their health, and never once critically thinking or spending time on what is the truth rising within this body. When we expand our awareness, it makes it easier to do anywhere else. When you practice being present and observing, it makes it easier to be present and observe anywhere else that you are. So, of course, I think expanding your awareness is great when you can learn from another lifetime, gain insight and wisdom about yourself, your higher self. But there are actually real practical benefits to expanding your awareness and attuning to the subtleties. That's another way to say it. You are attuned to the nuance and the subtleties and the small shifts and changes before they become big disasters. For example, sensing an illness or a cold before it comes on. We all know that if you slow down and take care of yourself, we heal faster. But if you can't sense yourself starting to get sick or break down, then you have to wait for a full breakdown to become totally aware that you're having an issue, and then you're parked on the couch and you can't move for 3 days. Where instead, if you were attuned to that subtlety of like a scratch in your throat or feeling a little weak or tired, you would maybe make sure you get some good sleep, eat some nutritious foods, don't stress yourself out. And then if you want to take a few days off and lay on the couch, at least then you don't feel like shit. I love to go and push myself in endurance events, but what I need to do is to pay extremely close attention to my body's aches and pains. So I am not running almost 40 miles in a crack a couple times a year because I have that natural ability. It's because I've spent the last 5 years being attuned to the subtleties. What injury is coming up? What little muscular shifts and adjustments can we make? What daily little physical therapy exercises do I need to do to keep these things on track? Where before, if I felt an ache or a pain, it wouldn't even register probably, for one. And when it did register, it was such an annoying and kind of big ache or pain. Oftentimes it would just stop me from doing what I was doing. So I could only get so far in my strength, in my endurance, because I was always having these resets because of injuries. But now with an expanded state of awareness, being more in tune to the subtleties of my body, I can get a sense of when things are a little out of balance, and I can correct those imbalances before they stop me from running or biking or hiking or lifting weights, whatever I want to do. And along those lines, even noticing burnout sooner. If you've ever been through burnout, It's something you want to avoid. And we can do this. We can notice these subtle tendencies of resentment and negativity, overexertion, ignoring exhaustion. And then years later, we can wonder why we're so depressed we can't get out of bed, or we're so physically exhausted or in pain that we can't even go on a walk. Another way I see this in my life is I have some relationships that totally make me dissociate. I do have that sense of like, I can't control what's going on around certain people. Like, I just dissociate. And before I know it, I'm feeling resentful, agitated, and nothing really went wrong, but I feel terrible. And it's through expanding my awareness and my understanding of myself that I can see these little paper cuts. It's death by 1,000 paper cuts. Death by 1,000, like folding myself up so I fit, folding myself up so I can stand this conversation, folding myself up so I fit in society, folding myself up so I fit in this person's, view of what they think a woman like me should be doing. And I was constantly doing that. And then I wondered why I was so angry and so exhausted and hated most parts of my life. And it's because I couldn't recognize that self-abandonment when it came in. I had to get away from it, expand my awareness, reflect on my life, and be like, that's what it is. That's what it is. I abandoned myself because there's a part of me that's afraid of this dynamic. And until I get control of that part of me and understand it, I don't want to be in that space again. But someday I will, and someday I'll test it. And then I can be attuned to the subtleties. How did this go? And one day I'll be able to be in those relationships and not abandon myself for approval or fold myself up and hold my opinions just to keep the peace. When we can recognize when we're people pleasing or abandoning ourselves, even if we can't stop it, when we can become aware of it, then we can slowly begin to turn that, slowly start to see, oh, it's more situations. It's a situation like that and that makes me do that. Okay, I can avoid them, so I will. Or I can't avoid them. Or what I want is on the other side of them. I have to deal with them. Then you can make a plan. How am I going to do it? How am I going to stay in my body? Make a plan, consult with your higher self, read a book about it, talk to your therapist, talk to your friend who has done it before. Look it up. People are talking about it on Instagram, I guarantee it. But when we can expand our awareness and realize we're doing something, even if we can't fix it, even if we can't stop it in that moment, the awareness of it and our awareness of ourselves in that moment as it unfolds is serving us. It's serving us to become more wise, to choose differently in the future, instead of just mindlessly staying stuck in the same patterns because it's a blind spot. So all of this I've been saying, expanded awareness, become more aware of like the unseen realms, the energetics around you, and then also within you. And sometimes when I look back on my journey, I almost think that's the whole point of it for me. And I doubt that I'm unique, but I don't know your journey. So when I look back on it, and I even remember clearly in some early podcast episodes saying things like, but who am I? Like, if I'm going to be myself, like, who is that? And that comes from decades of trying to fit in, decades of trying to be palatable for people who don't have a palate for much, honestly. So at the heart of it has really been a journey of like identity in figuring out who I am. And it's not surprising to me that in this world of relativity, that as I have explored altered states of consciousness, expanded my awareness to these unseen realms, that naturally I would also be then getting to know myself, or at least have the opportunity. I'm glad I'm taking the opportunity to truly get to know myself. It's a journey that's well worth it, but it is not all sunshine and rainbows. When I didn't know myself, I was making all kinds of decisions based on the external cues around me. And like I said before, that doesn't work for me. And what really lights me up, what makes me want to get out of bed. When I started to wake up to who I am and what I truly want and how different that is from the life that I had created, there was a lot of backing out that needed to happen. And it was painful and required a lot of communication and finesse, not only with other people as relationships changed, but also with myself. Because when we're totally changing the locus of control of our life, when it's going from what other people want me to be to what I truly want 100%, there's not a ton of payoff right away, or at least for me, it wasn't. It felt very slow going. It felt like I would make a shift or express a need or express something that I wanted to change, and it would just get rejected. Whether it was like blatantly get rejected or people being, most of the time, especially for people from the Midwest, it's like, no, you're worrying about something that doesn't matter. Oh, don't worry about it. But then ultimately they just like disappear. It is painful. I want to live a life where on my deathbed, I'm not thinking about all the shit I wish I would have done. And instead it's like a highlight reel. And I'm like, I'm so glad I did that. I'm proud of this. That was hard, but it led to this, not that everything needs to be perfect and happy, but I want it to all be true, like in alignment with a life that would really make me proud. And there was a lot of unwinding I needed to do. But through all of that, my knowledge of self, my ability to connect to myself when it was like a really difficult time, disagreeing with people or feeling rejected by people because of these changes, I only had myself. And that felt awful, but it pushed me to figure out even more who I am and to be like, this sucks, but I'm down this path. I need to make these changes. I'm doing it. And on the other side of it, since 2021, I've gotten a divorce. I've changed my name. I moved across the country. I have wildly expanded my consciousness and what I am aware of, and becoming even more aware of like my blocks, the small mindedness that still creeps in. It's been honed over decades, so it's there, it's in me. I just have to watch out for it, become more aware of it and when it shows up. So it's not running my life. But on the other side of all of that, I am physically stronger than I have ever been. I am mentally stronger than I have ever been. I have the capacity to take on more stress, more emotion. I have the capacity to stand in conviction and truth of myself and not be worried about rejection, or at least not to the extent that it alters the path and the choices that I make. And the more I do that, the more I get to know myself, the more I benefit physically, mentally, energetically, financially, schedule-wise, time-wise. My home life gets better. Every single relationship that has come into my life since then has been way more deep, true, honest, fulfilling, nourishing than any of the relationships really before that. And certainly the ones that ended obviously didn't have the stuff. But it's been this evolution that has required a lot of self-knowledge, self-grace and forgiveness and compassion and determination. And the payoff has been wild. My life is, albeit pretty simple, but it is exactly what I want. And as more desires and visions of a cool future come to my mind, I analyze them. Why do I want this? What's driving it? What happens when I get it? What's life like then? Do I still want it? And if it's yes, then I move forward and make that change. If I see something that I want, but I know that the actions it takes to get there are things that I don't like to do, then I play a game. Like, how can I get myself mentally so jazzed up to do this thing, to want to talk about this thing, to want to complete these action items that'll get me to my goal? What do I need to do to examine the fear, to confront the fear, to alleviate the fears that are blocking me from little things that need to be done in order for me to change this big picture as a whole? So that's where I'm at now. I am in that refinement phase. All right, that is where I'm going to land this plane. This conversation today about expanded awareness, it is not complete, it is nowhere near complete, but that's kind of a snapshot of where I am today, just in terms of consciousness, awareness, identity. I'll be back next week telling you all about the theme for July and the hypnotic journeys coming your way. So it's Seer sessions. This summer, we are going out there. So this month was all about expanded awareness, kind of alleviating that fear so you can expand your awareness. And in July, we are taking a deep dive into this idea of experiencing another lifetime. Like, what happens when you feel like you've had another lifetime? Why do so many of us have that experience? What is it? What are we exploring in these sessions? How are we able to explore them? I'm going to go deeper into the different theories. You heard a little bit here of how I've changed and how I see the sessions now versus how I used to see them. But I'm going to go a little bit deeper into that. And then you're also going to have a chance to explore. I know you, and you probably have some place, something, some culture, some person, and you feel like, I have been here before. And you're going to have an opportunity to explore that. It's such a common phenomena. And a lot of people come into sessions, certainly not the majority, but a lot of people will come into session and they'll have a session, they'll experience another lifetime, and they'll come out of it and they'll say, I knew I was going to experience that lifetime. And I'll be like, wait, this is your first session experiencing another lifetime. How did you know what you were going to experience? And they'll say, I've been seeing this lifetime, or I've always been drawn to that area, or I felt like that person has always been connected to me, so it was no surprise. That is something that still continually fascinates me about this work in these sessions, of how surprising and synchronistic that they can be. So we're going to go deep into other lifetimes in July. So I can't wait to tell you all about it. I can't wait to have you do those hypnotic journeys and hear all about where you go. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Continue your journey to get to know yourself and trust yourself, and I will see you next week.